Good evening, friends. Welcome to this session. I hope you enjoyed this session as well as you do all the other sessions. So, today we have a very interesting case which will not be spoken much about by mainstream media, and it's only certain media that is revealing the details of this case. So, we're talking about the richest family in UK, Indian family, the Hindujas. So, what this whole case, as we know, they are the one of the richest people, and they have been caught because they have been employing staff who work for 18 hours per day, and they are paid peanuts. Can you imagine? I mean, this sort of thing is something that you would hear when you are in, in the Middle East. The exploitation of, people from servants from India or from Philippines or from Africa. So this is the kind of treatment that you often hear of, where they are exploited and somehow, they sometimes they do some drastic measures, some jump off from high rise floors. We've heard a lot of that. But coming from such a rich family, has come as quite a surprise. Now, the case against the Hinduja family, they are one of the wealthiest. So let me just pull on the pictures. Yeah, the case against the Hinduja family, they are one of the wealthiest in the UK with a net worth of 37 billion, has sparked widespread reactions on social media. The family has been accused of mistreating their domestic staff, including paying them very low salary, withholding their passports, and forcing them to work excessively for long hours. You can just imagine. I mean, these the brothers. There are four of them. They are the richest, and they don't even have the heart to spend on their servants, or they make them work like slaves. Now, Deepak Shenoy, uh, now, Deepak Shenoy, who is the founder and CEO of a Bangalore-based Capital Mind, has backed the British court's decision to convict the Hinduja family. Shenoy emphasized the importance of employment protection, stating justice has been served. Even a rich family like the Hindujas can't get away from employment protection. You can't withhold passports, lock people in your house, make them work 18 hours per day, and still pay them peanuts, he wrote on Twitter. When an ex user defended the Hindujas by saying that retaining passports is a common practice to prevent employees from escaping into the Eurozone, Chennai responded by highlighting that regardless of circumstances, staff working hours should not exceed 10 hours. Now, let's look at the case itself. The Hinduja family, one of the wealthiest in Britain, has found itself in a serious legal trouble. Four members of the family. Now, let me just go to, yeah. Four members of the family, Prakash Hinduja, his wife Kamal, and their son Ajay, and daughter-in-law Namrata were accused of exploiting their domestic staff at their villa in Geneva, in Switzerland. Now, what are the charges against them? So, the main charge is that they have confiscated the workers' passports and were only paying them once every 3 to 6 months. Now, these members of the family were found guilty of exploiting poorly paid servants at their Geneva villa in a damning verdict from the Swiss branch of one of the India's wealthiest and most influential families. Now, four members of the richest family of Britain, with Prakash Hinduja, his family, Kamal Hinduja, their son Ajay Hinduja, and his wife Namrata Hinduja, have all been sentenced to jail by a Swiss court for exploiting Indian migrant servants whom they made to work for up to 18 hours a day for less than rupees 700 per day, which is £7. The hourly rate in Switzerland is 32, which is rupees 2,800 or £28. They paid them in Indian rupees rather than the local currency, confiscated their passports, and didn't allow them to go out. They spent more money in looking after their dogs than paying a decent salary to their servants. Prakash Hinduja and his wife are in their mid 70s. This age is for retiring and moving towards spirituality and not going to jail. on serious charges like human trafficking. They both received 4.5 years, that is 4.5 years, of a jail sentence term, while the son Ajay and his wife Namrata have got 4 years each. This is how the justice system works in a developed country. Now, this is something, it's a lesson for everybody around the world, that you cannot exploit people in this way. And we're not talking about just servants. And this is how as we said, this is how the justice system works in a developed country. Even though the family did an out of court settlement with the servants in the civil court, criminal charges were still brought against them, and they were tried in the court and punished. Now, it doesn't matter how rich or influential one is, law is equal for all. They probably spent a lot of wealth fighting this case that took away a lot more than money from them. All they needed to do was treat and pay those working for them, cooking for them, and cleaning for them, and looking after their children right. It seems now that karma is catching up with them. Now, the family head, Ajay Hinduja, his wife Namrata, and his parents Prakash and Kamal illegally took advantage of staff hired in India, paying them wages a fraction of the going rate in Switzerland. Now, Judge Sabina Mascota said in a ruling on Friday, the elder Hindujas who failed to attend the trial cited poor health. They were both sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. Ajay and his wife, who were not present in the courtroom, were given 4 years. All four were acquitted of human trafficking. Despite the judgment, it's certain whether any of the family will serve the jail time. Now, the domestic staff were exploited given the evident disproportion between what they were paid and should have been paid, said the judge. Yeah. And they were, yeah. So, Mascota, the judge said, reading from the verdict, they were exploited, and given their situation in India, was the position that they had in India was so precarious. They were exploited as they didn't know the language, and they had their passports confiscated and were only paid every 3 to 6 months. The four Hindujas knew the vulnerabilities of the staff and knew what the rules were in Switzerland, as they all were Swiss citizens. And Ajay was educated in Switzerland. Now, lawyers for the Hinduja said, we are appalled and disappointed by the decision and have filed an appeal. The family have full faith in the judicial process and remain confident that the truth will prevail, the lawyers said in a statement. Now, the judgment marks another important victory for Yves Bertoza, Geneva's top prosecutor, who secured a conviction of mining tycoon Benny Steinmetz in 2021 on bribery charges, and drove Credit Suisse banker Patrice in 2018. Now, Romain Jordan, Namrata's lawyer, explained the absence of the defendants. He read the quote from a letter from a doctor in Monaco that Kamal Hinduja is seriously ill and that Ajay and Namrata and Prakash had to be by his bedside. Now, we're not talking about two people who are trying to flee justice, said Jordan. Yael Hayat, Ajay's lawyer, said that her client had attended all the hearings and would never have missed the judgment were it not for his mother's illness. Taking into account that servants in the family reached a civil settlement earlier in the trial, the judge ordered the family to pay a reduced amount of 850,000 Swiss francs, which is $950,000 in compensation, and some 270,000 francs in legal fees. Bertoza also asked the judge to order the eventual detention of the two younger Hindujas, and if not, have them surrender their passports on their return to Switzerland and pay 2 million francs each as bail. Now, the hearing was suspended on Friday evening as the judge considered the prosecutor's request. Ultimately, the Geneva court accepted his argument that the four Hindujas exploited their servants' lack of local knowledge and language skills to work them up to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week with no statutory time off or benefit on wages, that were a fraction of the Swiss norms. The fact that the Hindujas employed them with no Swiss paperwork and relied on short term Schengen zone European Union visas, which they renewed over and over again, was a deliberate attempt to hoodwink the authorities, Botosa had argued. Now, the Swiss court has clearly handed jail sentences to four of them and branded them selfish for exploiting Indian staff at their Geneva mansion. Now, the Hindujas were acquitted of human trafficking but convicted on other charges in this stunning verdict for the family, whose fortune, as estimated, is at £37 billion by the Sunday Times. Now, as you know, they've got 4 years. The Prakash and Kamal have got 4 years, and the son and his wife have got 4 years. For 4 years, but the father and the mother have got 4.5 years. This is what the presiding judge has said. They were found guilty of charge of usury for taking advantage of their vulnerable immigrant staff to pay them a pittance. The employees' inexperience was exploited. They had little education or none at all and had no knowledge of their rights, presiding Sabina Mascotta said. The defendants' motives were selfish, she said, adding that the Hindujas were motivated by the desire for gain. Now, the lawyers had argued that all the recruitment was done through the Hinduja group in India and that Ajay was a busy businessman who was not involved and not aware of the contract details. Moreover, their wages couldn't simply be reduced to what they were paid in cash, the lawyers said, given their board and lodging in one of Europe's most expensive cities were covered. Their conviction springs from a case that began in 2018 when, following a tip off, Swiss prosecutors raided the villa as well as the offices of Hinduja Bank and other local businesses that belong to the sprawling Hinduja group, taking documents relating to the Swiss Hinduja family's accounts and hard drives. The bank itself was not the target of the raids and is not suspect of wrongdoings in the case, nor are the remaining three branches of the Hinduja family who don't live in Switzerland. Founded by Parmanand Deepchand Hinduja in 1914 in the Sindh region of British India, the one-time commodities trading firm was rapidly diversified by his four sons, with early success coming from distributing Bollywood movies outside India. Now, Srichand, the eldest of the four brothers, died in 2023. That left Gopichand and his two younger brothers, Prakash and Ashok, who had fought with Srichand and his daughter Vinu over the family's broader fortune before they called a truce in 2022. The clan, which has interests in finance, media, and energy industries and has stakes in 6 publicly traded Indian companies, has a collective fortune of at least 14 billion, putting it among Asia's 20 richest dynasties. The criminal court, however, cleared the members of a billionaire family of charges that they engaged in illegal human trafficking of their servants who were employed at their luxurious lakeside villa in Geneva. The court said that the staff understood the conditions they were agreeing to. There was no effective detention for any members of the family. Our clients have been acquitted of all human trafficking charges. We are appalled and disappointed by the rest of the decision made in the court of the first instance. And we have, of course, filed an appeal to the higher court, thereby making this part of the judgment not effective. Under Swiss law, the presumption of innocence is paramount till a final judgment by the highest adjudicating authority is enforced. Lawyers representing Hinduja family said in a statement. Now, the consuls also said that the plaintiffs in this case had withdrawn their respective complaints after declaring to the court they had never intended to be involved in such proceedings. Now, the Swiss court, if you listen to this very clearly, the Swiss court has asked the Hindujas to pay 750,000, which is almost 7.5 crores, in compensation to the 3 servants who reported them, plus legal fees of almost 2.5 crores. Swiss authorities have seized valuable jewelry, including diamonds, rubies, and a platinum necklace, in anticipation that they could be used to pay legal fees and potential penalties. In 2007, Prakash Hinduja was convicted on a similar but less serious charges. However, prosecutors said he continued to employ workers without the proper paperwork. And as it always happens when the digging starts, more and more skeletons come out. It has been found that an unrelated tax case is still pending against Prakash in Switzerland. After the country's highest court ruled he could owe Genevan authorities more than 125 million Swiss francs in back taxes. So this, friends, is the case of the Hindujas. As you see, I mean, if it were in Middle East, I could tell you about a million cases that happened when I was there. I remember very clearly there was a case where a Nigerian or a Sudanese lady, came to Sharjah as a maid servant, and she was put under the same sort of conditions that these servants were put. And of course, there were other threats also, as in sexual exploitation. So, in this case, what we read in the papers was that this woman was going to be molested by the owner, and this was a high-rise building in Sharjah. And what happened was she opened the window and jumped out to her death. Like this, there are so many cases that have happened in not only in UAE but also in Middle East. And unless our country, our rules are strict when these people go abroad and safeguard their rights, this sort of thing will continue to happen. And it doesn't come as a shocker. But what I don't understand is, don't these people have any sense of shame? So let me just take a few comments. Welcome, Nina. Welcome, Gloria. Thanks to CM family, we have hit 65K and counting. Thank you, Nina. And Nina M says, Hindujas, in which era are they living? It is criminal, the way they are treating people of their own country. Where is their sensitivity? Yes, karma will not spare them. Absolutely shocking. Nina, what I want to tell you is that, see, a lot of these cases will not be reported because, see, a lot of the mainstream media are funded by these very companies that these people hold. So the truth will never come out. It will only be a few media that will tell you the complete truth of what is happening backstage and what these people are doing while they are coming out and partying and wearing diamonds and whatnot. Behind this, look at the kind of muck there is, and they should be ashamed because they are people who are always in the public eye, and at some point or the other, these things will be exposed. So it really, when I read this, I wasn't shocked because again, see, there was earlier also there was a case like this on them, and they have not changed, nor have they repented for it. And I also hear that there are many cases in UK where this sort of thing happens, where servants are actually kept as slaves. So this is, I believe that the home country has to be very, very clear. And the moment something like this is, found out, then they should be given the ultimate punishment because they just cannot do it to human beings. So with this, we end this session. At 8:30, we will have a very interesting session with Ganesh ji. He's going to talk about the importance of Homa. And it's very simple. You could do it at home as well, he says. So this is something that will help bring positive energy into your house. So for all of you who are interested, please join us at 8:30 with Dr. Ganesh. Thank you. Good night. Jai Hind and Jai Shri Ram.